Okay, 5 minutes చేసేద్దాం devotees. Okay, let me put Prabhupada audio or some songs. I'm gonna...
Shaman baso vrinda to ban ke tole bas Shaman baso vrinda to ban ke tole Shaman baso vrinda तेरे होठ मधुर है मुख भी मधुर तेरे नयन मधुर मुस्कान मधुर हृदय भी मधुर है चाल मधुर मधुराधिपते मधुराधिपते कृष्ण 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 तेरे होठ मधुर है मुख भी मधुर तेरे नयन मधुर मुस्कान मधुर हृदय भी मधुर है चाल मधुर मधुराधिपति सर्वस्व मधुराधिपति सर्वस्व मधुर कृष्ण 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 तेरे होठ मधुर है मुख भी मधुर तेरे नयन मधुर मुस्कान मधुर हृदय भी मधुर है चाल मधुर मधुराधिपति सर्वस्व मधुराधिपति सर्वस्व मधुर कृष्ण 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 तेरे होठ मधुर है मुख भी मधुर तेरे नयन मधुर मुस्कान मधुर हृदय भी मधुर है चाल मधुर मधुराधिपति मधुराधिपति कृष्ण 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 तेरे होठ मधुर है मुख भी मधुर तेरे नयन मधुर मुस्कान मधुर हृदय भी मधुर है चाल मधुर मधुराधिपति सर्वस्व मधुराधिपति सर्वस्व कृष्ण 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 तेरे होठ मधुर है मुख भी मधुर तेरे नयन मधुर मुस्कान मधुर हृदय भी मधुर है चाल मधुर मधुराधिपति सर्वस्व
Hare Krishna, Mataji's, and our pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. You are able to hear my voice clearly, right?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandat pranam.
Hare
Yes, Prabhuji.
Dhanavad pranams. So actually, ఈరోజు నన్ను దీస్ ఆర్ ద డైటీస్ వి ఫస్ట్ సీన్ ఇన్ ఇస్కాన్ టెంపుల్ ఇన్ పుణే, శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధా కుంజ బిహారీ భగవాన్. ఈరోజు ఒక డివోటీ, పూణే డివోటీ షేర్ చేశాడు అనమాట. వండర్ఫుల్. యాక్చువల్లీ మేము కనెక్ట్ అయింది ఇస్కాన్ పూణే క్యాంప్ టెంపుల్ యాక్చువల్గా. సో ఈ డైటీస్ శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధా కుంజ బిహారీ భగవాన్. సో శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధా కుంజ బిహారీ భగవాన్కి యాక్చువల్లీ ఆ ట్యూన్ బాగా ఆకట్టుకుంది, అలాంగ్ విత్ లార్డ్స్ గ్లోరియస్ ఫేస్ శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధా కుంజ బిహారీ. అందుకే పెట్టాను, కావాలని పెట్టాను మాతాజీ. సో నెవర్ మైండ్. ఓకే, చూసారు యాక్చువల్గా మీరు? నేను యాక్చువల్గా గ్రూప్లో కూడా షేర్ చేశాను ఇది. చూసారా?
Yes, Prabhuji.
నైస్. శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధా కుంజ బిహారీ మై ఫస్ట్ లవ్. కావాలని పెట్టాను యాక్చువల్గా. సో విత్ దేర్ మర్సీ యాక్చువల్గా మేము ఎట్లా కనెక్ట్ అయినా అనేది ఒకసారి ఆలోచిస్తే ఆయనే లాక్కొచ్చిండు యాక్చువల్గా. శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధా కుంజ బిహారీ లాక్కొచ్చింది టెంపుల్కి. ఫస్ట్ మేము ఎంటర్ అయింది ఆ రోజు పుష్పాభిషేకం యాక్చువల్గా. దిస్ వాజ్ ఇన్ 2009 జనవరి టైం ఫ్రేమ్. 2009 అంటే ఇప్పటికి 13 years బ్యాక్. 13+ years బ్యాక్ ఫస్ట్ వెళ్ళినాము ఆ ప్రోగ్రాము పుష్పాభిషేకం. చిన్న టెంపులే, వెరీ బ్యూటిఫుల్, వెరీ సిరీన్, వెరీ నైస్ అట్మాస్ఫియర్. ప్రతి సండే వెళ్ళేవాళ్ళం అనమాట. యాక్చువల్గా మేము పూణేలో ఉన్నప్పుడు చిన్నగా ఒక 1 minute చెప్తాను ఒక ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్. ఎవ్రీ సండే ఫీస్ట్కి ఎట్లా వెళ్ళేవాళ్ళం అంటే మా ఫ్యామిలీతోని మా ఇంటి దగ్గరనే ఒకటి పిఎంటి బస్ అనమాట, పూణే మున్సిపల్ ట్రాన్స్పోర్టేషన్. పిఎంటిఎస్ బస్ అంటారు. కరెక్ట్ మేము ఉండేది గురు గణేష్ నగర్, శాంతిబన్ సొసైటీ. మా ఇంటి ముందే ఆగేది బస్సు. ఇది కరెక్ట్ పూణే రైల్వే స్టేషన్కి తీసుకెళ్తుంది. అక్కడ నుంచి వాకేబుల్ డిస్టెన్స్. సో ప్రతి సండే ఫీస్ట్, ప్రతి ఫెస్టివల్, ఒక్కసారి అట్రాక్షన్ వచ్చిందంటే ఇంకా భగవంతుడు వదిలిపెట్టాలన్నట్టు. సో ప్రతి సండే, ప్రతి ఫెస్టివల్, సండే ఫీస్ట్ ఎప్పుడు వెళ్ళే వాళ్ళం అంటే 9-9:30 అట్లా వెళ్తే 10:10 రాధేశ్యాం ప్రభు, ఇతర వేరే గురు మహారాజులు, లోకనాథ్ స్వామి మహారాజ్, గోపాలకృష్ణ గోస్వామి మహారాజ్ రెగ్యులర్గా వస్తుండే ఆ టెంపుల్స్కి. మార్నింగ్ 9-9:30 వరకు అక్కడ ఉండేవాళ్ళము. ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ అటెండ్ అయ్యి ఏమైనా సేవలు ఉంటే వెజిటబుల్ కటింగ్ కానీ, క్లీనప్ కానీ, ఇంకేదైనా ఏదని సరే మార్నింగ్ వెళ్తే ఇంకా ఇంటికి వచ్చేసరికి 6 అయ్యేది, 6-7. ప్రసాదం అక్కడే, లంచ్ ప్రసాదం అయిన తర్వాత 4-5 గంటలకు కిచిడి ప్రసాదము, హల్వా ప్రసాదం పెట్టారు. సో దోస్ డేస్ ఆర్ వెరీ వెరీ ఫ్రెష్ స్టిల్. ఈ రోజు దేవుని చూస్తుంటే అన్ని గుర్తొస్తున్నాయి అనమాట, మెమొరబుల్ డేస్. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ Mataji is hearing, and thank you very much for the opportunity to serve you in this activity of Srila Prabhupada's small books reading. Okay, so let us begin with Mangalacharana prayers, then we'll start reading. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you Anand Prabhu, Anand Chitikala Prabhu for joining. And
Hare
please,
Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Please stay and read with us, okay?
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah, if you are busy, it's okay. It's up to you. Today is first time I'm seeing. It's okay, Prabhu. No obligations. Whenever you want to leave, you can leave. Okay. If you are here, I'll ask you to read some part. Okay.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Samyukta Mataji, for joining. Likita Mataji joining. Vanilla Mataji joining. Saujanya Mataji joining. Sirisha Mataji joining. So let me share my screen and then we'll start. So I have chosen the small book. It won't take. It's a quick book only. This is from Easy Journey to Other Planets, 1972 edition. Prabhupada's first version that he has written in that year, 1972. So we'll read. This is the authenticated website. It's not from any other. It's one of the Srila Prabhupada disciple is maintaining this one. So all Srila Prabhupada's contents, all the books, everything is there. I will read from here. యాక్చువల్లీ లెటర్స్ కొన్ని దీంట్లో ఎన్నో విషయాలు చదివిన యాక్చువల్గా ప్రభుపాద లెటర్స్, ప్రభుపాద మార్నింగ్ వాక్స్, యాక్చువల్గా సెక్షన్ చూపిస్తాను అండి ఒకసారి, మీకు ఐడియా ఉంటుంది. ఇట్స్ యాక్సెసిబుల్, ఎవ్రీబడి కెన్ యాక్సెసిబుల్ ఆన్ ద ఇంటర్నెట్. ఎట్లా అట్రాక్ట్ చేశాడు చూడండి ప్రభుపాద. బుక్స్, లెక్చర్స్, కన్వర్జేషన్స్, లెటర్స్, లీగల్ డాక్యుమెంట్స్. లీగల్ డాక్యుమెంట్స్ దేనికి? ఇస్కాన్ స్థాపించిన లీగల్ డాక్యుమెంట్స్. ఎస్ఏస్, ఆర్టికల్స్, డైరీస్. పర్సనల్ డైరీలో ఆయన రాస్తాడు ఒకసారి, ఈరోజు ఇన్ని డబ్బులు వచ్చినాయి, ఇంత గోధుమ పిండి తీసుకొచ్చినా, ఇంత చపాతీలు భగవంతునికి పెట్టినా, అన్ని రాసుకుంటాడు. డైరీస్, పర్సనల్ డైరీస్. వైష్ణవాచార్య ఈజ్ ఎగ్జాంప్లిఫైడ్ వైష్ణవాచార్య. బ్యాక్ టు గాడ్ అండ్ మ్యాగజైన్, 1944 to 1966 మ్యాగజైన్స్ అన్నీ ఉంటాయి ఇక్కడ. సో దెర్ ఇస్ లాట్ టు రీడ్ యాక్చువల్గా చదవాలంటే. ఈ జీవితం ఇవ్వాలంతే ఇంకా. So that we also get purified and we also become pure devotees. Ultimately, Krishna is going to take care of us back home, back to garden. So we have to show the little enthusiasm, little effort to come in the Zoom calls and read his books. Yes. So this is what it is. So it's see how nicely he put the title, Easy Journey to Other Planets. Easy Journey to Other Planets. Why is this specific book is written in that year? Because he has seen that the scientist experimentation to go to that moon planet and try to find the curiosity. Is there any life? Is there? No, that's where the scientific advancement during that time. But Prabhupada, in Vedic perspective, he has given this book from the Vedas, how one can transfer one planet to another planets. Okay, so let us read. So easy. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Hema Mataji, thank you for joining. Yeah.
Hare Krishna,
Right.
Prabhuji. Sorry, Prabhuji, I'm late today.
That's okay, Mataji. Why sorries? We are all busy in our work and etc. It's okay. Yeah, we'll start. Anand Prabhu, since you joined for the first time, I'm giving you to go over and read this preface.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. I'm having book, Prabhuji. Okay.
That's
Preface.
super. Yeah. Preface, right? Read it.
Preface. A living being, especially civilized man, has a natural desire to live forever in happiness. This is quite natural because in his original state, the living being is both eternal and joyful. However, in the present conditioned state of life, he is engaged in a struggle against the recurring birth and death. Therefore, he has attained neither happiness nor immortality. The latest desire man has developed is the desire to travel to other planets. This is also quite natural because he has the constitutional right to go to any part of the material or spiritual skies. Such travel is very tempting and exciting because these skies are full of unlimited globes of varying qualities and they are occupied by all types of living entities. The desire to travel there can be fulfilled by the process of yoga, which serves as a means by which one can transfer himself to whatever planet he likes, possibly to planets where life is not only eternal and blissful, but where there are multiple varieties of enjoyable energies. Anyone who can attain the freedom of the spiritual planets need never return to this miserable land of birth, old age, disease, and death. One can attain this stage of perfection very easily by his individual effort. He can simply follow in his own home the prescribed method of Bhakti Yoga. This method, under proper guidance, is simple and enjoyable. An attempt is made herein to give information to the people in general and to philosophers and religionists in particular as to how one can transfer oneself to other planets by this process of Bhakti Yoga, the highest of all yogic processes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Right. So we'll read, chapter 1. It's called Anti-Material Worlds. Okay. Yeah. Vanilla Mata, you read some part here.
Sure. Materialistic science may one day finally discover the eternal and anti-material world, which for so long has been unknown to the wranglers of gross materialism. Regarding the scientists' present conception of antimatter, the Times of India, October 27, 1959, published the following news release. Stockholm, 26 February, October 1959. Two American atomic scientists were awarded the 1959 Nobel Prize today for the discovery of the antiproton, proving that matter exists in two forms as particles and antiparticles. The Italian-born Dr. Emilio Sergen, 69, and Dr. Owen Chamberlain, born in San Francisco. According to one of the fundamental assumptions of the new theory, that there may exist another world or an anti-world built up of antimatter. This antimaterial world would consist of atomic and subatomic particles spinning in reverse orbits to those of the world we know. If these two worlds would clash, they would both be annihilated in one blinding flash. In this statement, the following propositions are put forward. First, there is an antimaterial atom or particle which is made up of the anti-qualities of material items. Second, there is another world besides this material world of which we have only limited experience. Third, the antimaterial and material worlds may clash at a certain period and may annihilate one another. Out of these three items, we the students of theistic science can fully agree with items 1 and 2, but we can agree with item 3 only within the limited scientific definition of antimatter. The difficulty lies in the fact that the scientist's conception of antimatter extends only to another variety of material energy, whereas the real antimatter must be entirely antimaterial. Matter as it is constituted is subjected to annihilation, but antimatter, if it is to be free from all material symptoms, must also be free from annihilation by its very nature. If matter is destructible or separable, antimatter must be indestructible and inseparable. We shall try to discuss these propositions from the angle of authentic scriptural vision. The most widely recognized.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you for reading, Mataji. Yeah. The anti-material means it's a spiritual, not material, right? Our body is material body. So what is anti-material in our body? Anybody says?
Spirit soul.
Spirit soul. Spirit soul. No, correct. Anti-material. So as long as anti-material is there in our body, we experience the consciousness, we experience the livingness in the body. As long as super soul, as long as this soul left this body, it's a dead body. That's what it is. So anti-material, Prabhupada used many times here. No need to worry. It's called spirit soul. Simple. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So here three things mentioned. What are they in this statement? What is this statement? This one in the Stockholm. Two American atomic scientists, they put forward these statements. There is an antimaterial atom or particle which is made up of the anti-qualities of material atoms. There is another world besides this material world of which we have only limited experiences. But they also somewhat they understood in those scientists. The antimaterial and material worlds may clash at a certain period and may annihilate one another. right? So Prabhupada is given from their, these are Nobel scientists, Nobel Prize, Nobel Physics Prize today. These are the scientists. What are their names? Is given here: Emily Segre, Dr. Emily Segre, Dr. Woven Chamberlain. Somewhat they found it, which is relatively it can connect to Vedas. The the scientific research what they did. So let us read in detail. So he is going to explain based on that in this section. Okay, so yeah, Samyukta Mate, please go ahead and read this. Actually, I have chosen specifically this book. It's very important. It's not a dialogue version, just like we read one by one paragraphs like that. Yeah, read Mate.
Yes, Prabhuji. The most widely recognized scriptures in the world are the Vedas. The Vedas have been divided into 4 parts: Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva. The subject matter of the Vedas is very difficult for a man of ordinary understanding. For elucidation, the 4 Vedas are explained in the historical epic called the Mahabharata and in 18 Puranas. The Ramayana is also a historical epic which contains all the necessary information from the Vedas. So, the 4 Vedas, the original Ramayana by Valmiki, the Mahabharata, and the Puranas are classified as Vedic literatures. The Upanishads are part of the 4 Vedas, and the Vedanta Sutras represent the cream of the Vedas. To summarize all these Vedic literatures, the Bhagavad Gita is accepted as the essence of all Upanishads and the preliminary explanation of the Vedanta Sutras. One may then conclude that from Bhagavad Gita alone, one can have the essence of the Vedas, for it is spoken by Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who descends upon this material world from the anti-material world in order to give complete information of the superior form of energy. The superior form of energy of the personality of Godhead is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Paraprakriti. The scientists have recently discovered that there are 2 forms of perishable matter, but the Bhagavad Gita describes most perfectly the concept of matter and antimatter in terms of 2 forms of energy. Matter is an energy which creates the material world, and the same energy in its superior form also creates the anti-material world, transcendental. The living entities belong to the category of superior energy. The inferior energy or material energy is called apara prakriti. In the Bhagavad Gita, the creative energy is thus presented into 2 forms, namely apara prakriti and para prakriti.
Yeah, చెప్పండి మాధవ్ మీరు అపార ప్రకృతి పర ప్రకృతి అంటే చెప్పండి.
Material energy, Prabhuji, apara prakriti.
పరా ప్రకృతి అంటే
Superior energy, Prabhuji.
స్పిరిచువల్ వరల్డ్.
Spiritual world, para prakriti.
Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, yes, yeah. Next, Hema Mata, please go ahead and read. Hare Krishna Mata.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. How can
Yeah.
the antimaterial particle be explained?
No. ఎక్కడ ఉన్నారు? Matter itself ఇది కొంచెం.
Okay. Matter itself has no creative power. When it is manipulated by the living energy, material things are produced. Matter in its crude form is therefore the latent energy of the Supreme Being. Whenever we think of energy, it is natural that we think of the source of energy. For example, when we think of electrical energy, we simultaneously think of the powerhouse where it is generated. Energy is not self-sufficient. It is under the control of a superior living being. For example, fire is the source of 2 other energies, namely light and heat. Light and heat have no independent existence outside of fire. Similarly, the inferior and superior energies are derived from a source, which one may call by any name. That source of energy must be a living being with full sense of everything. That supreme living being is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, or the all-attractive living being. In the Vedas, the supreme living entity or the absolute truth is called Bhagavan, the opulent one, the living being who is the fountainhead of all energies. The discovery of the two forms of limited energies by the modern scientists is just the beginning of progress of science. Now they must go further to discover the source of the two particles or atoms which they term material and antimaterial. How can the antimaterial particle be explained? We have experience with material particles or atoms, but we have no experience with antimaterial atoms. However, the Bhagavad Gita gives the following vivid description of the antimaterial particle. This,
Just read
anti-
also. Yeah. Read.
this antimaterial particle is within the material body. Because of the presence of this antimaterial particle, the material body is progressively changing from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth to old age, after which the antimaterial particle leaves the old, unworkable body and takes up another material body.
శ్లోక ఎవరికైనా తెలుసా మాతాజీ?
Dehinosmin yata dehe.
అదే మాతాజీ. Yes. Yeah, అదే was. So that's what it is. So Prabhupada explaining, how nicely explaining, right? There are two energies. For example, if we take an example of fire, fire is a source of two other energies. What is that? Light and heat. Light and heat have no independent existence outside of fire. Similarly, so the example, see how analogies it connects to spiritual concepts. See, similarly, in the inferior and superior energies are derived from a source, which one may call by any name. The source of energy must be a living being with full sense of everything. అంటే మనము ఆ బుక్ చదివినాం కదా, లైఫ్ కమ్స్ ఫ్రమ్ లైఫ్, రైట్? సో హౌ మ్యాటర్ టేక్స్ ప్లేస్, లైఫ్, what is that? Life not comes from matter. Life comes from life only. So here Prabhupada explaining about the two energies in the inferior and superior energy are derived from a source. Who is that source? May call it any name. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says that Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. That source of energy must be a living being. That means he is a conscious person, fully cognizant, fully conscious person, right? Must be a living with full sense of everything. He knows everything. Full sense of everything means he knows everything. That supreme living being is the personality of God, Sri Krishna, or all the attractive living being. సో ఇక్కడ యాంటీ మెటీరియల్ తర్వాత ఇదంతా చాలా డిస్క్రైబ్ చేస్తున్నాడు అనమాట శిలా ప్రభుపాద, రైట్? సో యా, లెట్ us go through other paragraphs. Likita Mataji, would you like to read? Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. This description of living body confirms the scientific discovery that energy exists in two forms. When one of them, the antimaterial particle, is separated from the material body, the latter becomes useless for all purpose. As such, the antimaterial particle is undoubtedly superior to the material energy. No one before should lament for the loss of material energy. All varieties of sense perception in the category of heat and cold, happiness and distress are but interactions of material energy, which come and go like seasonal changes. The temporary appearance and disappearance of such material interactions confirms that the material body is formed of a material energy inferior to the living force or jiva energy. Any intelligent man who is not disturbed by happiness or distress, understanding that they are different material phases resulting from the interactions of the inferior energy, is competent to regain the anti-material world where life is eternal, full of permanent knowledge and bliss. The anti-material world is mentioned here, and in addition, information is given that in the anti-material world there is no seasonal fluctuation. Everything there is permanent, blissful, and full of knowledge. But when we speak of it as a world, we must remember that it has forms and paraphernalia of various categories. behind our material experience.
Miss
Shall
Salva,
I
go
continue?
ahead. Yeah,
Yes.
continue.
The material body is destructible and as such it is changeable and temporary. So is the material one. But the anti-material living force is non-destructible and therefore it is permanent. Expert scientists have thus distinguished the different qualities of the material and anti-material particle as temporary and permanent respectively. The discoverers of the two forms of matter have yet to find out of the qualities of antimatter. But a vivid description is already given in the Bhagavad Gita as follows. The scientist can make further research on the basis of this valuable information. The antimaterial particle is finer than the finest of material particles. This living force is so powerful that it spreads its influence all over the material world. The antimaterial particle has immense potential in comparison to the material particle, and consequently, it cannot be destroyed. This is but the beginning of the description of the antimaterial particle in the Bhagavad Gita. It is further explained as follows.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. So, Prabhupada explaining about the anti-material of the nature of the anti-material and anti-matter, what its nature, what is this, what exactly there is called anti-material world. It's nothing but spiritual world. Everything there is permanent. There is no question of seasonal changes because it's a matter. It's not a matter. It's a spiritual. Adhyatmikam. So everything there is permanent. So Satchidananda Vigraha form, right? So what is the soul's nature? Satchidananda Vigraha. Sat means always. So there is no question of time. Always. Eternal. Eternal, blissful and knowledgeable life. Sat Chit Ananda. Chit means knowledgeable. Sat means eternal. Sat Chit Ananda. Ananda means blissful nature. So that is called spiritual world. So there is no, and it's called Vaikuntha also, right? There are no miseries. Vaikuntha. Kunta means misery. Vai and no miseries. So, okay, but when we speak of it as a world, we must remember that it has a forms and paraphernalia of various categories beyond our material experiences. Beyond our material experiences. So, Prabhupada is quoting that material body is destructible and such is it's changeable and temporary. When it is destructible means it is going to change. It is going to be temporary. The nature of this material body. Changeable, right? In previously, Prabhupada quotes from Bhagavad Gita, Dehinosminita Dehe. So that means, so we are in the material energy of Krishna. That means with including our body also. So what are the elements that material energy consists? Anybody remember from Bhagavad Gita? What are the material energy in our body? Of course, body is a material energy. What it contains, how it is made up of. I'm asking too much questions. Sorry.
Is it the combination of modes like Sattva, Tama, and Rajogunas, Prabhuji?
Yeah, that is there, Prabhu. Yeah, Sattva, Tama, Rajoguna qualities. The material
And the
energy.
five elements of nature. Yeah.
Correct. Right, correct. So 5 elements, 5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements. Those are also material. Our intelligence is material. Our mind is material. And our senses are this one. The gross elements are material. Bhumira Puralo Vayu, Kamano Buddhirevacha. That is the sloka. So that means in our body, what is important? You tell us, Prabhuji's Mata is. In our body, what is very, very important? Is material energy or spiritual energy?
Spiritual energy.
Spiritual energy. That's where the problem is we give more importance on this body. So సౌకర్యాలు బాడీకి కంఫర్టబుల్ లైఫ్ కావాలి, అది ఉండాలి, ఇది ఉండాలని, but it's all, but actually we have to care for the anti-material in our body. That's nothing but spirit soul. right? So what is saying Srila Prabhupada in small letters here? The antimaterial particle is finer than the finest material particles. The living force is so powerful. ఎంత పవర్ఫుల్ అంటే చూడండి, దట్ ఇట్ స్ప్రెడ్స్ ఇట్స్ ఇన్ఫ్లుయెన్స్ ఆల్ ఓవర్ ద మెటీరియల్ బాడీ. ఎట్లా? త్రూ కాన్షియస్నెస్. The soul having that consciousness, it spreads the entire body. The antimaterial particle has immense potency in comparison to the material particle, and consequently it cannot be destroyed. Adi cannot be destroyed. Soul never cut into pieces. The nature of soul also given by Srila Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, right? The nature, it is not moistured by water, not burned by fire. The nature is, that's maybe indestructible element in our body is the soul. Within the soul, super soul also there. With that, so there is so both are there. Yeah. Sir, okay, so now let us see, let us read. Who else not here read so far? Okay, okay, Shirisha Mata, you want to read? What is the situation? You are here? Hare Krishna Mataji. Okay, okay, I will read some paragraphs and then over to you. Okay, so now that this is the beginning of the description of antimaterial particle in the Bhagavad Gita. It is further explained as follows. The finest form of the antimaterial particle is encaged within the gross and subtle material bodies. That is nothing but Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. Right? Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. 4 plus 3, 7 elements. Although the material bodies, both gross and subtle, are subject to destruction, the finer anti-material particle is eternal. That means, think about this life. Actually, how this body is, మనకు తెలుగులో ఉంటుంది కదా, భూమిలో కలిసిపోతుంది. భూమి నుంచే వచ్చేది, ఇక్కడ నుంచి అది మెటీరియల్ బాడీ వచ్చింది, ఎక్కడి నుంచి? ఫ్రమ్ వన్ మెటీరియల్ బాడీ టు వన్ మెటీరియల్ బాడీ, రైట్? సో ఇట్ ఈస్ డిజాల్వింగ్ అండ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ కలిసిపోతుంది భూమిలోనే మళ్ళీ. ద ఎలిమెంట్స్, పంచభూతాలు. కాకపోతే ఆ సటిల్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ యాజ్ పర్ భగవద్గీత ఏం చెప్పారంటే, క్యారీస్ సటిల్ ఎలిమెంట్స్ విచ్ వి కెనాట్ సీ, క్యారీస్ through the soul and assumes another body. That mind, intelligence, and false ego along with soul transfers to another body. The material elements is going to dissolve in this material nature. Those three also is not eternal. As long as body is means, those three are also temporary. Temporary material elements. Okay, the perfection of science will occur when it is possible for the material scientists to know the qualities of the antimaterial particle and liberate it from the association of non-permanent material particle. Such liberation would mark the culmination of scientific progress. So there is partial truth in the scientist's suggestion that there may exist also another world consisting of antimaterial atoms, and that a clash between the material and antimaterial worlds will result in the annihilation of the both. There is a clash which is continually going on. The annihilation of the material particles is taking place at every moment. The annihilation of the material particles is taking place at every moment. Ante Prabhupada previous books lo rasini, the cells in the whatever our body having the cells changing every minute, every second. That's why we are not having the body when we are in 5-year-old body. Where is that? Where is that 5-year-old body? That is changing. That's what it is, the meaning here. And the non-material particle is striving for liberation. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as follows. The non-material particle, which is the living entity, influences the material particle to work. This living entity is always indestructible as long as the non-material particle is within the lump of material energy known by the names of gross and subtle bodies, and then the entity is manifest as a living unit. In the continuous clashing between the two particles, the non-material particle is never annihilated. No one can destroy the anti-material particle at any time, past, present, or future. It's a complete is Krishna's creation. So So there is no question of there is no question of destroying thing. It is always there with him, always there with Krishna. That means we are eternal. The soul is eternal, eternal connection with Krishna. Yeah. Again, Mata is please continue. Anand Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Therefore,
Therefore, we think that the theory maintaining that the material and the antimaterial worlds may clash, resulting in the annihilation of both worlds, is correct only within the context of scientists' limited definition of antimatter. The Bhagavad Gita explains the nature of the antimaterial particle, which can never be annihilated. The fine and immeasurable antimaterial particle is always indestructible, permanent, and eternal. After a certain period, however, its engagement by material particles is annihilated. The same principle also operates in the case of the material and antimaterial worlds. No one should fear the annihilation of the antimaterial particle, for it survives the annihilation of material worlds. Everything that is created is annihilated at a certain stage. Both the material body and the material world are created, and they are therefore subjected to annihilation. The antimaterial particle, however, is never created, and consequently it is never annihilated. This also is corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita. The antimaterial particle, which is the vital force, is never born or created. It exists eternally. It has neither birth dates nor death dates. It is neither repeatedly created nor repeatedly destroyed. It is eternally existing, and therefore it is the oldest of the old, and yet it is always fresh and new. Although the material particle is annihilated, the antimaterial particle is never affected. The principle is also applicable to the antimaterial universe as well as to the antimaterial particle. When the material universe is annihilated, the antimaterial universe exists in all circumstances. This will be explained in more detail later. The scientist may also learn the following from the Bhagavad Gita. The learned man who knows perfectly well that the antimaterial particle is indestructible knows that it cannot be annihilated by any means. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So, yeah, let us go through it. Vanilla Mataji, please read. Now Prabhupada is discussing about the elements, how is grouped, and how it is consumption of the body. So you can read.
The atomic scientist may consider annihilating the material body by nuclear weapons, but his weapons cannot destroy the antimaterial world. The antimaterial particle is more clearly explained in the following lines. It is neither cut into pieces by any material weapon, nor is burnt by fire, nor is moistened by water, nor withered, nor dried up, nor evaporated in the air. It is indivisible, non-flammable, and insoluble. Because it is eternal, it can enter into and live any sort of body. Being steady by constitution, its qualities are always fixed. It is inexpressible because it is contrary to all material qualities. It is unthinkable by ordinary brain. It is unchangeable. No one therefore should ever lament for what is eternal antimaterial particle. Thus, in Bhagavad Gita and all other Vedic literatures, the superior energy antimaterial principle is accepted as the vital force or living spirit. This is also called the jiva. The living principle cannot be generated by any combination of material elements. There are 8 material principles which are described as inferior energies, and they are earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. Apart from this is the living force or the antimaterial particle, which is described as a superior energy. These are called energies because they are wielded and controlled by the supreme living being, the personality of Godhead Krishna. For a long time, the materialist was limited within the boundary of 8 material principles mentioned above. Now it is encouraging to see that he has a little preliminary information of the antimaterial principle and the antimaterial universe. We hope with the progress of time, the materialist will be able to estimate the value of the antimaterial world in which there is no trace of material principles. Of course, the very word antimaterial indicates that the principle is in opposition to all material qualities. Correct.
Hare Krishna. You want to add anything, Mataji? You are well versed actually.
No,
You can.
Prabhupada.
No, seriously, Mataji. The way you read and understand scriptures. You want to add anything on this? Just share. It's okay. Prabhupada explaining that elements from the Bhagavad Gita verse only.
Yes, Bhumira
Yeah. Bhumira Punalo Vayu.
and Aparayam Vitastam.
And the nature, soul's nature also explained here, right? Nayanam Chindanti Shastrani. Right? So this is what it is. It is neither cut into pieces by any metal weapon, not by fire, burnt by fire, moistened by water, not withered, dried up, evaporated, indivisible, inflammable, non-flammable, insoluble, because it is eternal. It can enter into and leave any sort of body. Hey, our mother is, Prabhu, you all know, right, that one? What is the size of soul?
Yes, Prabhuji. 1 by 10,000 part of the tip of the needle.
Hair, Prabhuji.
అంటే ఈజ్ ఇట్ కన్సీవబుల్? మన 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 ఆలోచన పరిధికి అందుతుంది అది? అదే పవర్ఫుల్ అంటున్నాడు ఇక్కడ. సో దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ పవర్ఫుల్ థింగ్ విచ్ ఈస్ ఇన్కన్సీవబుల్ బట్ ఓన్లీ కెన్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్డ్. ఈ ప్రాసెస్ ఈ భక్తి యోగ ప్రాసెస్ ఏం చేస్తుందంటే వీ కెన్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ద సోల్స్ ప్రెజెన్స్ ఇన్ అవర్ బాడీ, ద సోల్ సూపర్ సోల్ కనెక్షన్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ comes into play if sincerely understand. See, that's where మనం చదివాం కదా మొన్న what is that preliminary text to understand science of God. What is that book called? మతయ్య సంయుక్త మతయ్య ఈరోజు నిన్న చదివాను అనుకుంటా మార్నింగ్ కాల్స్ లో. వాట్ ఈస్ దట్ బుక్? ఇట్స్ ఎ ప్రిలిమినరీ గైడ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ సైన్స్ ఆఫ్ గాడ్. అంతే, ఇంకా దాని క్వశ్చన్ ఏం లేదు మతది. ప్రభుపాద రాసే టర్మ్స్ చూడండి, ప్రిలిమినరీ గైడ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ సైన్స్ ఆఫ్ గాడ్. అండ్ అన్ని వస్తాయి సైన్స్ ఆఫ్ గాడ్. ఒకసారి భగవంతుని అర్థం చేసుకున్నాం అంటే మన కనెక్షన్ ఏంటి, అందులో అన్ని వస్తాయి దాంట్లో. సో దట్స్ వాట్ ఇట్ ఈస్. సో చాలా వర్సెస్ చెప్పండి మతది.
Materialistic scientists, they're trying to find the smallest particles. They first said atom, then they said there is smaller than that, electron or proton, neutron, then quarks, but still they are not able to find them. They are just going and every time the smallest particle keeps changing.
ఎస్. ఈ వీళ్ళు కనుక్కున్న టెలిస్కోప్ ఏదేమంటారు అది, మైక్రోస్కోప్ మతది అది, రైట్? మైన్యూట్ ఎంత తీసుకుంది అది అందదు యాక్చువల్గా. ద సోల్ సైజ్ దే కెనాట్ సీ, ఇట్ కెనాట్, ఎప్పుడు ఇంకా అది కాదు, అది సాధ్యం కాదు. అది ఎనీ మెటీరియల్ ఎక్విప్మెంట్ కెనాట్ ట్రేస్ ద సోల్. సింపుల్, పీరియడ్. We just have to understand from scriptures and submissively we have to hear. Basically, this is what it is process, right? We have to hear, we have to understand, and that is real actually. దట్ ఈస్ రియల్. బట్ మన మనసు ఒప్పుకోదు యాక్చువల్లీ. ఇంత ఉంటుందా, నిజమేనా, ఏదో ఈ టెక్స్ట్లు భగవద్గీత ఇవన్నీ కూడా మైథాలజీ అట్లా ఉంటుంది. బ్రెయిన్ మనల్ని మన మైండ్ డిఫీడ్ చేస్తుంది. యా బట్ యూ జస్ట్ హ్యావ్ టు రీడ్ అండ్ అండర్స్టాండ్ ఫ్రమ్ Srila Prabhupada purports. Okay. Hema Mata, Samyukta Mata, please go ahead. Read this one.
Yes, Prabhu. There are, of course, the mental speculators who comment upon the anti-material principle. These fall into two main groups and they arrive at two different erroneous conclusions. One group, the gross materialist, either denies the anti-material principle or admits only the disintegration of material combination at a certain stage, death. The other groups accept the anti-material principle as being in direct opposition to the material principle with its 24 categories. This group is known as the Sankhyatis, and they investigate the material principles and analyze them minutely. At the end of their investigation, The Sankhetis finally accept only a transcendental, anti-material, non-active principle. However, difficulties arise for all these mental speculators because they speculate with the help of inferior energy. They do not accept information from the superior. In order to realize the real position of the anti-material principle, one must rise to the transcendental plane of superior energy. Bhakti Yoga is the very activity of superior energy. From the platform of the material world, one cannot estimate the real position of the anti-material world, but the Supreme Lord, who is the controller of both the material and anti-material energies, descends out of his causeless mercy and gives us complete information of the anti-material world. In this way, we can know what the anti-material world is. Supreme Lord and the living entities are both anti-material in quality. We are informed. Thus, we can have an idea of the Supreme Lord by an elaborate study of the living entities. Every living entity is an individual person. Therefore, the supreme living being must also be the supreme person. In the Vedic literatures, the supreme person is properly claimed to be Krishna. The name Krishna, indicating the supreme Lord, is the only true, intelligible name of the highest order. He is the controller of both the material and anti-material energies. And the very word Krishna signifies that he is the supreme controller. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord confirms this as follows.
చదవండి మా చదవండి.
Yes, sir. There are two worlds, the material and anti-material. The material world is composed of inferior qualitative energy divided into 8 material principles. The anti-material world is made of superior qualitative energy because both the material and anti-material energies are emanations of the supreme transcendence, the personality of Godhead. It is proper to conclude that I, Lord Krishna, am the ultimate cause of all creations and annihilations.
Yeah. Let me read one more time. There are two worlds, the material and anti-material. Spiritual material world, okay. The material world is composed of inferior quality energy divided into 8 material principles. The anti-material world is made up of superior quality energy because both the material and anti-material energies are emanations of the supreme transcendence. It is proper to conclude that I, Lord Krishna, I am the ultimate cause of all creations and annihilations. Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So, what are the 8 material principles? ఇదే మళ్ళీ
5 gross elements, 3 subtle elements.
elements. Correct.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. We are all on the same page. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Hema Mata, please go ahead. Read it.
Yes, Prabhu. Because the Lord's two energies, inferior and superior, manifest the material and anti-material worlds, he is called the Supreme Absolute Truth. Lord Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, Prabhuji, I'll read the next one, Prabhuji, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Likita Mata, please read.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Because the Lord's two energies, inferior and superior, manifest the material and the anti-material world, he is called the Supreme Absolute Truth. The Lord Krishna explains this in the Bhagavad Gita thus, I am Arjuna, the highest principle of transcendence, and there is nothing greater than me. Everything that be rests on my energies, exactly like tiles on a thread. Long before the discovery of the principles of antimatter and the anti-material worlds, the subject was delineated in the pages of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita itself indicates that its philosophy had previously been taught to the presiding deity of the sun, which implies that the principle of the Bhagavad Gita were expounded by the personality of Godhead. Long before the battle of Kurukshetra, at least some 120
Billion years.
Billion years ago. Now, modern science has just discovered a fraction of the truths that are available in the Bhagavad Gita. The assumption of an anti-material universe is also found in the Bhagavad Gita. And from all data available, it is to be assumed without the slightest doubt that the antimaterial world is situated in the antimaterial sky, a sky which is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita as Sanatana Dharma, or the eternal nature. Exactly as material atoms created the material world, the antimaterial atoms create the antimaterial world with all its paraphernalia. The antimaterial world is inhabited by antimaterial living beings. In the antimaterial world, there is no inert matter. Everything there is a living principle, and the supreme personality in that region is God Himself. The intelligence of the antimaterial world possesses eternal life, eternal knowledge, and eternal bliss. In other words, they have all the qualifications of God.
Yeah, yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ బాగా అల్లరేసినట్టు మీ ఇంట్లో ఏమన్నా Mataji? లిఖిత Mataji? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is what it is. So there is one verse from Bhagavad Gita. Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasya dhananjaya mayi sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. I am Arjuna, the highest principle of transcendence, and there is nothing greater than me. Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasya dhananjaya. And that is what it exactly it is looks like. Everything that be rests on my energies, exactly like pearls and a thread. మొత్తం భగవంతుడే హోల్డ్ చేస్తుండే ఇదంతా. ఒక ఉదాహరణ కూడా భగవంతుడే ఇచ్చిండు ఉదాహరణ, రైట్? ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ లైక్ పర్ల్స్ అనే థ్రెడ్. యా, ఓకే, షూర్ హేమమాత. ఓకే, కిడ్స్ ఆల్సో దేర్ ఆల్సో ఇన్ దేర్ హోమ్. ఓకే, సో భగవంతుడు హోల్డ్ చేస్తున్నాడు అనమాట ఇవన్నీ. ఎవ్రీథింగ్ దట్ రెస్ట్స్ ఆన్ మై ఎనర్జీస్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్లీ లైక్ పర్ల్స్ అనే థ్రెడ్. Pretty straightforward. You don't need to worry about the different technical words. We just have to understand inferior, superior, everything is come from Krishna. Prabhupada is quoting especially different verses in this book actually. First to define the definition is giving how the soul's nature, what exactly the spiritual, what is exactly the material world. అన్ని డీటెయిల్గా చెప్పుకుంటూ వస్తుంది అనమాట దీంట్లో. యా, నెక్స్ట్. ఓకే, హేమమాత చదవలేరు. యా, మళ్ళీ మనమే. హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ, లక్ష్మీ మాతాజీ, మానస మాతాజీ, ఐఎమ్ నాట్ షూర్. హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ, చదువుతారా మీరు లక్ష్మీ మాతాజీ? బట్ ఇట్స్ ఓకే.
Prabhuji, 1 second. Okay, in the material world, the topmost planet is called Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. Beings of the greatest talents live on this planet. The presiding deity of Brahmaloka is Brahma, the first created being of this material world. Brahma is a living being like so many of us, but he is the most talented personality in the material world. He is not so talented that he is in the category of God, but he is in the category of those living entities directly dominated by God. God and the living entities both belong to the anti-material world. The scientists therefore would be rendering service to everyone by researching the constitution of the anti-material world, how it is administered, how things are shaped there, who are the presiding personalities, and so on. Of the Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam deals elaborately with these matters. The Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. These two important books of knowledge should be thoroughly studied by all men in the scientific world. These books would give many clues to scientific progress and would indicate many new discoveries. The transcendentalist and the materialist are two distinct classes of men. The transcendentalist gathers knowledge from authoritative scriptures like the Vedas. Vedic literature is received from authoritative sources which are in the line of transcendental disciplic succession. This disciplic succession parampara is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that hundreds of thousands of years ago, the Gita was spoken to the presiding deity of the sun, who delivered the knowledge to his son Manu, from whom the present generation of man has descended. Manu in his turn delivered this transcendental knowledge to his son King Ikshvaku, who is the forefather of the dynasty in which the personality of Godhead Sri Rama appeared. This long chain of disciplic succession was broken during the Advent period of Lord Krishna 5000 years ago, and for this reason, Krishna restated the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, thereby making the first disciplic. First disciplic
లైన్
even I just missed the line. Is
నేను
in the
హైలైట్ చేస్తాను మళ్ళీ దేర్ బై
thereby making him the first disciple of this knowledge in this age. The transcendentalist of this age, therefore, is in a disciplic line that starts with Arjuna. Without troubling himself with materialistic research work, the transcendentalist acquires the truths concerning matter and antimatter in the most perfect way through this disciplic succession, and thereby saves himself much botheration. The gross materialists, however, do not believe in anti-material worlds of the personality of Godhead. They are therefore unfortunate creatures, although sometimes very talented, educated, and advanced otherwise. They are bewildered by the influence of the material manifestation, and they are devoid of knowledge of things anti-material. It is a good sign, therefore, that the materialistic scientists are gradually progressing toward the region of the anti-material world. It may even be possible for them to make sufficient progress to be able to know the details of this anti-material world, where the personality of Godhead resides at the predominating figure, and where the living entities live with him and serve him. The living entities who serve the Godhead are equal in quality to him, but at the same time they are predominated as servitors. In the anti-material world, there is no difference between the predominated and the predominator. The relationship between is in perfection and without a tinge of materialism.
Yeah.
Shall I
Loving.
continue?
Yeah. You want to read? You can continue. Yes.
Okay. The nature of the material world is destructive. According to the Bhagavad Gita, there is some partial truth to the assumption of the physical scientists that there is annihilation of the material and anti-material worlds when they chance to clash. The material world is a creation of changing modes of nature. These modes are known as Sattvaguna, Rajas, and Tamas. Okay. The material world is created by the mode of Rajas, maintained by the mode of Sattva, and annihilated by the mode of Tamas. These modes are omnipresent in the material world, and as such, at every hour, every minute, every second, the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is taking place all over the material universe. The highest planet of the material universe, Brahmaloka, is also subjected to these modes of nature, although the duration of life on the planet, due to the predominance of the mode of Sattva, is said to be 43 lakh into 1000 into 2 into 30 into 12 into 100 solar years. This
Count చేయండి మాది. దిస్ ఈజ్ వాట్ అంటే చూడండి, ఎవరు రాసింది ఎవరు? శ్రీల ప్రభుపాద. ఇది ఎవరి కోసం రాసిండు? సైంటిస్టులు ఎవరైనా చదువుతాడని ఎవడన్నా చదువుతాడేమో.
ఓకే.
ఓకే, అట్లా రాసింది అంటే చూడండి పాయింట్.
ఇది 1000 ఎందుకు ఉంది ప్రభుజీ ఇక్కడ? అంటే జనరలీ 2 అంటే డే అండ్ నైట్, 30 ఈస్ ఫర్ మంత్ డేస్, అండ్ 12 ఈస్ ఫర్ మంత్స్, అండ్ 100 ఈస్ ఫర్ ఇయర్స్. 1000 వచ్చి వై ప్రభుజీ?
1000 100 such years, 100 such years, 12
యా
1000
మేబీ
మాతాజీ వెనెల మాతాజీ, ఐఎమ్ నాట్ షూర్ యాక్చువల్లీ. 1000 ఏంది? 1000 ఇది బ్రహ్మాస్ లైఫ్ యాక్చువల్లీ.
యాక్చువల్లీ బ్రహ్మస్ లైఫ్.
వాట్ ఈస్ దిస్ 1000 యాక్చువల్? 100 years ఉంటాడు అతను. 100 years 12, బట్ ఈ 230. Okay, the highest planet of the material universe, Brahmaloka, is also subject to the modes of nature. Although the duration of life on that planet, due to the predominance of the mode of sattva, is said to be
1000 Chaturyugas, Prabhu. Into 2 is day and night.
1000 ఏమో ఏమంటారు?
Chaturyuga, one Chaturyuga is first figure, Prabhu, 300 adi. Chaturyuga, Prabhu. 1000 Chaturyugas is one day and one night also. So into 2, Prabhu.
30 ఏంది మళ్ళీ? 30, 20, 12.
30
number of days in a month, and 12 is 12 months, and 100 is 100
years.
అట్లా ఉండదా? ఓకే. సో ఇది ఇదే మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి చెప్పండి సీక్వెన్స్.
అంటే 4 సైకిల్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ థింగ్ ప్రభు. 4 యుగాస్, సైకిల్ ఆఫ్ 4 యుగాస్,
3 billion years. One Satya, Treta, Dwapara and Kali Yuga టోటల్ గా కాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తే ఈ ఫిగర్ అవుతుంది ప్రభు.
4,300,000 అదా?
అవును ప్రభు.
అచ్చా మనకు ఉంది కదా నంబర్ 432, 864, then 12 and then 16. ఓకే అన్ని కలిపితే ఓకే గాట్ ఇట్. అండ్ ఇది
1000 such Chaturyugas is 1 day of Brahma, Prabhu. 1 day
సారీ మాతాజీ, నేను అతన్ని లక్ష్మీ మాత వాళ్ళ అబ్బాయి మ్యూజిక్ పెట్టినట్టున్నాడు, బట్ ఇట్స్ ఓకే. చెప్పండి మళ్ళీ.
One Chaturyuga is 4,30,000 years, Prabhu.
Chaturyuga means combination of all yuga time. Okay.
1000 such Chaturyugas is 1 day of Brahma, Prabhu.
Acha 1000. Correct. Number 2 అంటే day and night. And night. మరి 30 అంటే 30 days.
12 అంటే 12 months and 100 years.
12 months ఉంటాయి. ఓకే, కరెక్ట్ కదా. ఇప్పుడు సీజన్స్ మన 12 months టైం ఉంది కదా, అంటే సీజన్స్ కరెక్ట్ ఆ నెంబర్. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఇట్ ఈస్. సో థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ ఇన్ఫో మాతాజీ, వేనల మాతాజీ. సో 4,300,000 అంటే 43 lakhs years అంటే 1 చతుర్యుగ. సో 1000 చతుర్యుగ ఇంటూ ఇది కలిపి తర్వాత డే అండ్ నైట్, తర్వాత 30 days, అందులో 12 days, అట్లాంటి 100 years కలిపితే బ్రహ్మాస్ లైఫ్ టైం. Despite this long duration, however, Brahmaloka is also subject to destruction. ఇన్ని సంవత్సరాలు బతికినా కూడా చావు తప్పదు. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ మెటీరియల్ నేచర్ హార్డెస్ట్ ట్రూత్. ఇంతగానం బతికి ఏం లాభం మళ్ళీ, రైట్? ఓకే షూర్ Mata, thank you for reading, and Vinal Mata, thank you for being here. So this also let us continue another till 8:10. Okay, today we start little late, till 8:10 we will read. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Anand Prabhu, you are still there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you can continue.
Lord Krishna instructs that all the planets within the material universe are destroyed at the end of 43 lakhs into 1000 into 2 into 30 into 12 into 100 solar years. And all the living beings inhabiting these material planets are destroyed materially along with the destruction of the material worlds. The living entity, however, is constitutionally an anti-material particle, but unless he elevates himself to the region of the anti-material worlds by cultivation of anti-material activities, he is destroyed materially at the annihilation of the material worlds and is subject to take rebirth in a material shape with the rebirth of a new material universe. In other words, he is subject to the pains of repeated birth and death. Only those living entities who take to the loving service of the personality of Godhead during the manifested stage of material life are undoubtedly transferred to the anti-material worlds after quitting the material body.
ఇది చూడండి
Immortality.
ప్రభు. Yeah, just want to share something. See, Prabhupada ఇది italics లో ఉంది చూడండి కదా, వర్డ్స్ ఇటాలిక్స్ లో ఉంది, చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్ అని. ఓన్లీ దోస్ లివింగ్ ఎంటిటీస్ who take to the loving service of the supreme personality of Godhead during the manifested stage of material life, అంటే whatever we existed right now, our life is manifested now. I'm Srinivas Devata, material name, for example. I have my manifested form. So material life is there. So ఏం చేయాలి మనము? ఓన్లీ those living entities who take the loving service of Supreme Personality of Godhead in the manifested stage of material life are undoubtedly transferred to anti-material worlds after quitting the material body. That means our occupation is loving service of loving devotional service to Supreme. అందుకే ఇటాలిక్స్ లో పెట్టాడు అనమాట శిల ప్రభుపాద. నైస్, గో హెడ్ ప్రభుజీ, సారీ టు ఇంటరప్ట్.
No problem. What are these anti-material activities? They are medicines. For example, when a man falls ill, he goes to a physician who prescribes medicines which eventually cure the suffering patient. Similarly, the materialist is ailing and he should consult an expert transcendentalist physician. What is his ailment? He is suffering the tribulations of repeated births, deaths, diseases, and old age. Once he agrees to put himself under the back to Godhead treatment, he is able to transfer himself to the anti-material world where there is eternal life instead of birth and death. Annihilation of the material world takes place in two ways. Partial annihilation occurs at the end of every 43 lakhs into 1000 solar years, or at the end of each day of Brahmaloka, which is the topmost planet in the material world. During that time of partial annihilation, the topmost planets such as Brahmaloka are not annihilated, but at the end of each duration of 43 lakhs into 1000 into 2 into 30 into 12 into 100 solar years, the entire cosmic manifestation is merged into anti-material body, from whence the material principles emanate, manifest, and merge after annihilation. The anti-material world, which is far removed from the material sky, is never annihilated. It absorbs the material world. It may be that a clash occurs between the material and the anti-material worlds, as suggested by the scientist, and that the material worlds are destroyed, but there is no annihilation of the anti-material worlds. The eternally existing anti-material world is unmanifested to the material scientist. He can simply have information of it insofar as the principles of its existence are contrary to the modes of the material world. Full details of the anti-material universe can be known only from the infallible source of liberated authorities who have thoroughly realized the constitution of the anti-material particle. This information is received by oral reception by a submissive disciple of the personality of Godhead.
యా, ఇది చదువుతుంటే నాకు భగవద్గీత 4.34 గుర్తొస్తుంది. వాట్ ఈస్ తద్విద్ది ప్రణిపాతేన పరిప్రశ్నేన సేవ ఉపయోదేక్షంతి తే జ్ఞానం జ్ఞానిన తత్వదర్శిన. తత్వదర్శిన అంటే లిబరేటెడ్ సోల్. He has seen the truth, he experienced Krishna, so he is giving the knowledge. How can he give the knowledge? But we have to do some service, we have to ask questions, clarify our doubts, to do some seva to him, so that see, we have realized, who have thoroughly realized the constitution of antimaterial particle. This information received by oral reception by a submissive disciple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means a guru is required, right? This knowledge has to received from the guru. So our preeminent guru, who is our preeminent guru? Hare Krishna. Who is our preeminent guru?
Srila Prabhupada.
Preeminent Srila Prabhupada. We are reading his books, means we are correct, we are in the correct process, we are in the correctly situated. That's where it's called preeminent guru of our sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada, right? So yeah, thank you Anand Prabhuji. Let us give it to Mataji so that they can read. Samyukta Mata, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. The Vedic knowledge was thus imparted unto the heart of Brahma, the first living being in the material creation. It was Brahma who related this knowledge to the sage Narada Muni. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, to Vivaswan, the presiding deity of the sun. And when the oral chain of disciplic succession was broken, Lord Krishna repeated the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. At that time, Arjuna took the role of disciple and student in order to receive transcendental knowledge from Sri Krishna. In order to drive out all misgivings which the gross materialist of the world may have, Arjuna asked all relevant questions and the answers were given by Krishna so that any layman can understand them. Only those who are captivated by the glamour of the material world cannot accept the authority of Lord Sri Krishna. One has to become thoroughly clean in habit and heart before one can understand the details of the anti-material world. Bhakti Yoga is a detailed scientific transcendental activity that both the neophyte and the perfect yogi can practice. Bhakti Yoga is a detailed scientific transcendental activity that both the neophyte and the perfect yogi can practice.
ఆడెంత ఇస్తానండి నీకు ఆఫర్ వాడు?
So ఎవరైనా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకో ప్రభుజీ భక్తి యోగా ఇట్స్ నాట్ ఫర్ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్ పర్టికులర్ కేటగిరీ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్.
ఒక నిమిషం ప్రభుజీని మేము మ్యూట్ చేద్దాం, మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. ఓకే, యా చెప్పండి మాతయ్య. భక్తి యోగా ఎనీబడి కెన్ ప్రాక్టీస్.
ఎనీబడి కెన్ ప్రాక్టీస్. అదే ఇట్స్ నాట్ ఫర్ పర్టికులర్ డివోటీస్. yes.
ఏం కావాలి అలా చిన్న భగవంతుడు ఎవరైనా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయొచ్చు. జస్ట్ షోయింగ్ అవర్ లవ్ టువర్డ్స్ సుప్రీం, అంతే. భక్తి యోగా అంటేనే అది కదా, కృష్ణ. సో ఏం చెప్తున్నాడు, ఎంత ముద్దుగా రాశాడు వర్డ్స్ శిలా ప్రభుపాద. ఏ డీటెయిల్డ్ సైంటిఫిక్ ట్రాన్స్జెండల్ యాక్టివిటీ, ఏ డీటెయిల్డ్ సైంటిఫిక్ ట్రాన్స్జెండల్ యాక్టివిటీ. ఇది చదివితే నాకు ఏబిసిడి గుర్తొస్తుంది. డివోషనల్ లైఫ్, యు ఆల్ నో ఏబిసిడి, ఐ డోంట్ నీడ్ టు ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్, కరెక్ట్? నో ఏబిసిడిఈ, దట్ బోత్ ద నేమ్ ఫర్ ఎనీబడి కెన్ ప్రాక్టీస్, రైట్? థ్యాంక్ యూ మాతాజీ. నేను ఇంకో 5 minutes చదువుదాము. వెనెల మాతాజీ, యు వాంట్ టు రీడ్?
Sure. The material world is only a shadow representation of the anti-material world, and intelligent men who are clear in heart and habit will be able to learn, in a nutshell, all the details of the anti-material world from the text of the Bhagavad Gita, and these are actually more exhaustive than material details. The basic details are as follows. The presiding deity of the anti-material world is Sri Krishna, who exists in his original personality as well as in his many plenary expansions. This personality and his plenary expansions can be known only by anti-material activities commonly known as Bhakti Yoga or devotional service. The personality of Godhead is the supreme truth, and he is the whole anti-material particle. The material principle as well as anti-material principles is an emanation from his person. He is the root of the complete tree. When water is poured onto the root of the tree, the branches and leaves are nourished automatically. And in the same way, when Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is worshipped, all the details of the material world are enlightened, and the heart of the devotee is nourished without having to work in the materialistic way. That is the secret of Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
హరే కృష్ణ. ఎన్నోసార్లు అవుతుంది కదా ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అది మనది, వాటరింగ్ ద రూట్ ఆఫ్ ద ట్రీ. మీరు అది చెప్పగానే ఇది చూడండి, మీరు మామూలు డివోటీ కాదు మొత్తది. కరెక్ట్. భోక్తారం యజ్ఞత కోసం సర్వలోక మహేశ్వరం. ఎస్, వాటరింగ్ ద రూట్ ఆఫ్ ద ట్రీ ఇస్ అ పర్ఫెక్ట్ శ్లోక. భోక్తారం యజ్ఞ తపసం సర్వలోక మహేశ్వరం సుహృదం సర్వభూత. అదేనా నెక్స్ట్? అదేనా మతే? సుహృదం అది వాటరింగ్ ద రూట్ ఆఫ్ ద ట్రీ. జస్ట్ లైక్ ఇప్పుడు మనం భగవంతుడు కృష్ణునే ప్రేమించి కృష్ణునేకే సేవ చేసినాం అనుకోండి, దట్స్ ఇట్. ఆల్ అదర్ డెమిగాడ్స్ సంతోషంగా ఫీల్ అవుతారు. నా మాస్టర్ని వీళ్ళు ప్లీజ్ చేస్తున్నారా, నాకు సంతోషం. డెమిగాడ్స్ ఫీల్ అయ్యేది. మనం వి డోంట్ నీడ్ టు గో ఫర్ ఎవ్రీ అదర్ డెమిగాడ్. అలా అని డిస్రెస్పెక్ట్ చేయొద్దు. వీ హ్యావ్ టు రెస్పెక్ట్ఫుల్ ఎవ్రీబడి ఇంక్లూడింగ్ డెమిగాడ్స్. But Supreme Lord is special. Supreme Lord is supreme. That's where it's Supreme Lord. That's very special. Yeah. Actually, I am seeing Pallavi Mata. Would you like to read? Sorry, I haven't seen you. Haribol Mataji, you want to read? Hare Krishna, Pallavi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you Mataji for joining. You చదువుతారా?
యా చదువుతానండి. సారీ జాయిన్ అయ్యాను, చూడలేదు నేను మెసేజ్.
ఇట్స్ ఓకే మతాజీ. మీరు ఇద్దరు ఆడపిల్లలు ఉన్నారు, బిజీ ఉంటారు. ఇట్స్ లైఫ్, అండర్స్టూడ్. ఎప్పుడు వీలుంటే అప్పుడు జాయిన్ అయిపోండి. మా దాన్ని ఇది ఓపెన్ గ్రౌండ్ మాత్రం. ఎవరైనా ఎప్పుడైనా జాయిన్ కావచ్చు, 10 నిమిషాలు చదవచ్చు, వెళ్ళొచ్చు. నాట్ దర్ ఆర్ నో రిస్ట్రిక్షన్. ఆ 10 నిమిషాలు చదివినా మీకు యు ఆర్ గెటింగ్ ప్యూరిఫైడ్. ఎప్పుడైనా జాయిన్ కండి, నో ప్రాబ్లం. ఓకే, ఎస్ రీడ్ ఇట్.
ఇది ద డిఫరెంట్ డీటెయిల్స్ నీకు చదవాలా ప్రభుజీ?
ది ప్రాసెస్ ఆఫ్ ఎంటరింగ్ ఇంటూ ద
okay. The process of entering into the anti-material worlds differs from materialistic processes. The individual living being can very easily enter the anti-material world by practicing anti-material activities while residing in the material world. But those who are truly gross materialists, who depend on the limited strength of experimental thought, mental speculation and materialistic science, find great difficulty in entering the anti-material worlds. The gross materialists may try to approach the anti-material worlds by endeavoring with spaceships, satellites, rockets, etc., regions of the material sky, which he throws into outer space. But by such means, he cannot even approach the material planets in the higher regions of the material sky. And what to speak of those planets situated in the antimaterial sky, which is far beyond the material universe. Even the yogis who have perfectly controlled mystic paths have great difficulty entering into that region. Master yogis who control the antimaterial particle within the material body by practice of mystic paths can give up their material bodies at will at a certain opportune moment and can thus enter the antimaterial worlds through a specific thoroughfare which connects the material and antimaterial worlds. If they are at all able, they act in accordance with the prescribed method given in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who have realized the transcendence can reach the antimaterial world by leaving their material bodies during the period of Uttarayana, that is when the sun is on its northern path, or during auspicious moments in which the deities of fire and effulgence control the atmosphere. The different deities or powerful directing officers are appointed to act in the administration of cosmic activities. Foolish people who are unable to see the intricacies of cosmic management laugh at the idea of personal management of fire, air, electricity, days, nights, etc. by demigods. But the perfect yogis know how to satisfy these unseen administrators of material affairs, and taking advantage of the goodwill of these administrators, leave their material bodies at will during opportune moments arranged for entrance into the antimaterial universe or into the highest planets of the material sky. In the higher planets of the material world, the yogis can enjoy more comfortable and more pleasant lives for hundreds of thousands of years, but life in those higher planets is not eternal. Those who desire eternal life enter into the antimaterial universe through mystic powers at certain opportune moments created by the demigod administrators of cosmic affairs, administrators unseen by the gross materialists who reside on this seventh class planet called Earth. Seventh class planet. Yeah.
సెవెంత్ క్లాస్ మిస్ 14 ప్లానటరీ సిస్టమ్స్ ఉంటాయి మాతాజీ. ఓకే, భాగవతంలో ఏం చెప్తారంటే 14 ప్లానటరీ సిస్టమ్స్. ప్రభుపాద పెట్టింది కింది నుండి 6 అయిపోయినాక 7th ప్లానెట్స్. ఇక్కడ నుంచి ఇంకా పైన అప్పర్ ప్లానటరీ సిస్టమ్స్ ఉంటాయి. మొత్తం 14 ప్లానటరీ సిస్టమ్స్. అతల వితల తలాతల రసాతల మహాతల పాతాల, అవి కింద భూమి నుంచి కింది, రైట్. ఎర్త్ ప్లానెట్ నుంచి పైన స్వర్గలోక, తపోలోక, జనలోక, మహర్లోక, బ్రహ్మలోక, ఇవి పైన హయ్యర్ ప్లానటరీ సిస్టమ్స్. అందుకే
Okay.
7th క్లాస్ ప్లానెట్ అని అనమాట.
Oh, okay, Prabhuji.
ఎస్ ఎస్, థ్యాంక్ యూ ఫర్ రీడింగ్.
Yeah.
8:15 అవుతుంది. లెట్ అస్ స్టాప్ హియర్ నా. ఓకే, ఈరోజు ఇక్కడికి ఆపుదాము. మళ్ళీ మనం మండే కనెక్ట్ అవుదాం. మండే, వెన్స్డే అండ్ ఫ్రైడే, రైట్? సో అసలు ఇదంతా కొంచెం ప్రభుపాద యూజ్ చేసే వర్డ్స్, ఇది ఆయన సైన్స్ కమ్యూనిటీని టార్గెట్ చేయడానికి రాసిన అనమాట. సోల్ అంటే వాళ్ళకి వాళ్ళ అంతా ఏదో రిలీజియన్ ఉంది, ఏదో ఉందని చెప్పి చదవారని చెప్పి కొంచెం వర్డ్స్ కొంచెం డిఫరెంట్గా యాంటీ మెటీరియల్ అట్లా వాడి అట్లీస్ట్ కొంతమంది సైంటిస్టులు దీన్ని చదివి అర్థం చేసుకొని వస్తారనే ఒక తపన చేసింది అనమాట. సో కొన్ని టెక్నికల్ టర్మ్స్ ఉండొచ్చు, బట్ సింపుల్ వి జస్ట్ యాంటీ మెటీరియల్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఇస్ అ సూపర్ సోల్. యాంటీ మెటీరియల్ వరల్డ్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ స్పిరిచువల్ వరల్డ్, రైట్? సో దట్స్ వాట్ ద థింగ్.
భక్తి చాలా మంది సైంటిఫిక్ గా ఉండదు అని చెప్తారని ప్రభుపాద ఇది కూడా సైంటిఫిక్ గా
వాళ్ళకి అర్థం కావాలని డిఫరెంట్ ఈ టర్మ్డ్ ఈ కాయిన్డ్ డిఫరెంట్ వర్డ్స్ ఏమంటారు, రకరకాల ఈ వర్డ్స్ చూస్తే ఏంది ఒక సైంటిస్ట్ లాగా రాసినట్టున్నది. మన ఆ వర్డ్స్ అన్ని కాయిన్డ్ అట్లా చెప్తున్నాను వీళ్ళకి అర్థమవుతుంది వాళ్ళ భాషలో.
He wants to show that bhakti is also very scientific.
Bhakti is also very scientific. Yes. Yeah. Completely. Perfect scientific actually. చెప్పాలంటే అల్టిమేట్. ఆయన బుక్స్ రాసింది అది పాత్ ఆఫ్ పర్ఫెక్షన్ బుక్స్, వన్ ఆఫ్ ద బుక్. సో విల్ స్టాప్ హియర్ అండ్ టుడే ఐ గాట్ లిటిల్ లేట్, ఐ వాజ్ వర్కింగ్, కొంచెం లేట్ అయింది. సో మళ్ళీ మనము మండే కలుద్దాం. ఓకే, వెన్నెల మాత్రం మీరు ఉండాలి, మీరు కాల్లో ఉండాలి ఖచ్చితంగా. ఒకరు వచ్చినా రాకుండా మీరు మాత్రం ఉండాలి. సో దట్ విల్ గెట్ సమ్ క్లారిఫికేషన్. కొన్నిసార్లు నేను మర్చిపోయి ఉంటా, కొన్నిసార్లు నాకు తెలియయి కొన్ని విషయాలు. సపోర్ట్ హియర్. ఓకే,
తెలియను నాకు తెలిసినవి ఏమి ఉండవు ప్రభు, బట్ ఐ ట్రై టు.
ఆ నంబర్ స్టిల్ నాకు ఇప్పుడు ఒక క్లారిటీ వచ్చింది. అది ఏంటది, బ్రహ్మ సోలార్ కంప్లీట్. ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. ప్లీజ్ కమ్ రెగ్యులర్లీ. లెట్ us read our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada's purports in these small books. Get benefited. Definitely there is some takeaway. ప్రతి కాల్లో టేక్అవే ఏంటంటే we got purified. Simple, we got purified. అది ఆ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ లో ఉండండి అంతే. we got some purification by reading his books. ప్రభుపాద సంతోషంగా ఒక స్పర్శ, ఎట్లాంటి స్పర్శ అంటే మిమ్మల్ని చూసి నైస్ నా చదువుతున్నారు, వెరీ గుడ్ అని ఆయన ఎట్లా ఫీల్ అవుతారంటే అది ఆయన బ్లడ్ అండ్ స్వెట్ పెట్టింది శిల ప్రభుపాద ఈ బుక్స్ రాయడానికి. తెలుసా ప్రభుజీ మొత్తం ఎంత కష్టపడి ఇంగ్లీష్లో. ఇది 1972 బుక్. ఇప్పటికి ఎన్ని సంవత్సరాలు అవుతుంది కౌంట్ చేయండి, ఎన్ని ఏళ్ళు అవుతుంది? 1972 8 అంటే 50 years, 50 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం. అంటే 50 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం ఎట్లా రాసింది చూడండి బుక్ ఇంగ్లీష్లో. 50 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం మనం వీఆర్ అదృష్టవంతులం, చాలా అదృష్టవంతులం. వీఆర్ ఇన్ ద ప్రాసెస్. గట్టిగా పట్టుకుందాం శిలా ప్రభుపాద లోటస్ ఫీట్. రీడ్ ఇట్. ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ అగైన్. వాంఛా కల్పతరుభ్యశ్చ కృపా సింధు ఏవచ పతితానాం పావనేభ్యో వైష్ణవేభ్యో నమో నమః. అనంతకోటి వైష్ణవ వృంద की जय. శిల ప్రభుపాద की जय. శిల గురుదేవ్ की जय. నితాయ్ గౌర హరి ప్రేమానందే. హరి హరి బోల్. ఆనంద్ ప్రభు మీరు మీకు ప్రభు దయచేసి రండి. ఓకే,
యాక్చువల్లీ నాది టైమింగ్ ఆఫీస్ టైమింగ్ 11 to 8 ప్రభు. ఈరోజు టాస్క్ లేకుండే, సో
ఓకే 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 రండి, ఎప్పుడైనా రండి. మధ్యలో వచ్చి 10 నిమిషాలు చదివినా పోండి. ఓకే, రైట్. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. హ్యావ్ ఏ హ్యాపీ కృష్ణ కాన్షియస్